This is Songs on Fire, the show where I trade songs and stories with some of my favorite artists and good friends right from my backyard. My name is Ben Kunder. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I love to talk to other singer-songwriters. On today's episode, we have Caroline Brooks.
It's not first light and well past dawn. The kids are downstairs with the TV on. I sit up in bed to carry on. Better hear the birds song. April's gray, the softest light. I see through the sleep I couldn't find last night. Look how beautiful it is outside, but I'm stuck on the inside. Give me a lifeline, hold me in the daylight, and when the night comes, won't you help me sleep? I awoke with this in mind, of the disconnect between the lines, and the dark in which I do reside. Oh my God, I'm tired. Give me a lifeline, hold me in the daylight, and when the night comes, won't you help me sleep? Give me a lifeline, hold me in the daylight, and when the night comes, won't you help me sleep? Some blessed sign of spring. Oh, I would do anything to break from this feeling. Give me a lifeline, hold me in the daylight, and when the night comes, won't you help me sleep? Give me a lifeline, hold me in the daylight, and when the night comes, won't you help me sleep?
On the night you were born, all the earth stood still. They whispered your name and the lights came on. On the night you were born, all the trees stood tall. The wind carried your name through the leaves like a song. Nothing ever happened so big in my life, and I don't know if it ever will again. Your love has covered me like an collecting memories stone by stone. Bears keep dancing to your song as we travel into the unknown. So lay me down on your pillow, lay me down on your bed, lay me down, 'cause I'm ready. I'm a firefly, you're the night sky. Call me crazy, you can call me a fool. I know what I want, that's to give it all to you. On your pillow, lay me down on your bed, lay me down, 'cause I'm ready. I'm a firefly, you're the night sky. I'm a firefly, you're the night sky. I'm a firefly, you're the night sky.
So Caroline, you may be better known as 1/3 of the incredible trio Good Lovelies, but right now you are working on your own solo record. This is your first solo record,
Yes, it is.
so why now? Let's talk about it.
It's a good question. I mean, I turned 40 this year,
Okay.
which is a big milestone for me, and it sort of started, the whole idea of it, I mean, it's been brewing for years.
Sure.
I have a lot of songs that I've written that don't sort of live in Good Lovelies world, and not that they couldn't, but it's just worked out that way. And I thought about this year and what I wanted to do with it, and for me it was almost like a gift to myself, completely like liberated from the machine gift of making music. And I'm not saying that like making music with the Good Lovelies is a machine, but it's our job, and
Of course.
we've done it for a really long time, so there's a lot of emotions that are there. And yeah, so I started writing really just for myself, thinking about songwriting outside of the need for a specific form or
Yes.
a destination, or is this worthy of radio, or is this going to get here, is this audience going to like this? So I just wrote a chunk of songs that were deeply personal.
What a
for me.
relief that must have been.
Yeah, I mean, I've always explored that kind of songwriting, but it never really existed beyond my personal space or with among friends, you know, or like with even with Carrie and Sue, and to share those songs. So yeah, I really felt a lightness around writing songs, even though a lot of the content is not necessarily like lighthearted.
Yeah.
It was really specific to this time of my life, and but yeah, it started really just as a gift to myself, and then all of a sudden I had these songs that are now in motion to become my first solo recording. Which
That's
is,
amazing.
yeah,
Beautiful.
pretty exciting.
So you were saying that you have an archive of songs that you've written outside of Good Lovelies that maybe
Yeah.
aren't focused on Good Lovelies records. Were these parts of those, or were these new that you had written for this record?
I'd sort of intended at the beginning to use some of my older material that I'd written over the years. Maybe one of the 11 songs is from that time, like, and still recent history, like a 3-year-old song. But the rest of them were really written in the last, like, 8 to 10 months. And it was like, it was a really, really interesting experience to like say, I'm just going to write these songs completely void of any destination. And they sort of poured out really quickly. and I feel super connected to them, and they feel also very connected to each other. At one point I was like, am I writing the same song over and over again? Because content-wise it's very similar. But yeah, this is really the first time I'm talking about it and trying to process all these feelings and thoughts I've had inside, or
I feel honored to be present in that experience, and fleshing it out.
Yeah, it feels like the right space to do that. Yeah.
So these new songs, they feel similar, they feel like there's a theme to the record, or?
Yeah, sort of see it. I feel like I'm kind of writing a thesis around this particular point of my existence as a woman, as a parent, very, very specifically a parent. There's a lot of these songs live in that world of being in this space where, you know that feeling when you're going on tour and the days before you leave are the worst? It like that feeling of like almost like a nostalgia, but you're in it. Like you haven't left yet, but you feel this kind of like, oh my gosh, I have to go. And that little heartache that you have, but you're still present, like with the people you love, that you're leaving.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that's at the root of all the songs, where I'm just like, I mean, you have little kids.
Yeah.
You know this, you must know this feeling where you're just looking at them and you're just like desperately trying to grab onto this time, because you know it's fleeting. And even though the next part is going to be beautiful in different ways, you know, I just feel like I'm constantly like, oh my God, this is happening so quickly.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of these songs exist. And
you feel like you've captured that feeling and put it into a record.
yeah, at least for myself. Like, I don't know if everyone else will get that feeling from it, but yeah, a lot of them were written also in captivity, frankly, like during the pandemic, and you know, all of us being holed up together, and me apart from my bandmates and best friends, frankly, Carrie and Sue. Like, I felt really, it was really tough not to be able to like sing with them. That was that was a hugely challenging, like enormously challenging feeling, to not be able to sing in harmony with people that you've sung in harmony with like daily, monthly, like for
That's an interesting
15
thing.
years.
Sometimes I wonder if you find yourself writing for yourself, but writing your melody line in the spot where you would be put in your harmony, you know? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the main thing I can say that's different with these songs than maybe something I'd write for our band is that melody is in a way more free, because I'm not concerned with where the other vocals are going to sit. So there's maybe in some ways some more motion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do that with Good Lovelies too. Like, we have some kind of complex melodies. I'm really drawn to very moving melodies, and I've over the years learned to sort of stretch them out for the space of harmonies, really, because I think it benefits what we do, like that sort of lush three thing, and in a kind of a straighter motion. I'm kind of digressing a little bit, but yeah.
Digress away. I mean, harmonies are something that I'm obsessed with, and I always dreamed of being in a band like Good Lovelies.
Yeah, it's
like
amazing.
CSNY was like my dream as a kid.
Oh,
and
yeah.
On my I tried for years to put songwriters together to create a band like that, and it never stuck. So I just, layer my own vocals and hope for that.
Well, yeah,
I
mean, that's a thing too. Like, I'm experiencing that actually while I'm recording these songs, because I'm like, I'm not hearing a ton of harmonies, but when I do sing, I don't even want to hear my own voice as the harmony. I'm like, where are my people?
Yeah.
Like, I've sung so long with Carrie and Sue. They're like built into my DNA, at this point. And yeah, harmony singing is such a part of my life. Like, I grew up in a very musical family.
Yes.
So my first record was with my sister as a duo called the Brooks Sisters, and it's just like singing with my mom and my dad and my sister and these big, like, I don't know, it's just, I feel super lucky that I get to sing with other people constantly. And with you today, this is the best. That was such a nice feeling.
I guess then I'm wondering if you grew up in this musical household. I mean, maybe we should start there. But I want to get back to how you and your partners in crime found each other.
Yeah, sure.
You know, organically. Like, I want to know how that happens. But
Yeah.
maybe we should start with, you know, your folks and what that was like for you growing up. What kind of music was happening in the house?
Yeah, so my dad's a songwriter,
Yeah.
and he quit the road to raise his kids, which was always present in our house, you know.
Sure.
He's a guitar teacher, and he brought home my first guitar when I was 6. So he taught me classical guitar, and then also one of the things I love about my dad is even hearing him teach other people. It was never just like, here, do your classical guitar grades. He'd always sneak in like, what song do you want to, I can't tell you how much Nirvana or like,
Sure.
or like Sarah McLachlan I heard in my
How were you
house.
how were you as a student with your
I was
dad?
a terrible student with my dad.
I bet.
I mean, I've realized over the years I've absorbed a lot. Like I listen to myself play guitar, and I'm like, that is something my dad would write. Or playing, for example, he always just had guitars around in open tuning. So like,
That's
I learned
amazing.
it was really awesome. And I have like these vivid memories of being a kid, falling asleep and hearing my dad's foot tapping in the next room, just practicing. And so a lot of that's innate. I was a terrible, terrible student with him, but he introduced me to a lot of cool stuff. And he also really, really felt strongly about not playing other people's music a lot, like, which means I'm the worst person to have at a campfire because I like don't have this, you know, Rolodex of other people's songs. But he was really always like, why don't you try to write your own song? Or like, yeah, he was really supportive that way. So yeah, I grew up singing with my family band. My parents have a band. They still have a band.
They still have a band, right?
They have a band, and they're recording too, which is pretty awesome. They have a home studio and are like working with some of my friends now, which is
That's
really
really
amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a gift. It's a super gift. And my dad is geeking out on Pro Tools, and I'm learning Logic. So we're just like, what do you like? What do you like? Anyways, it's really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you weren't a good student. Did he just then give you space to do your thing, or did you find lessons elsewhere, or were you teaching yourself? Like,
Yeah, a bit of everything. He gave me some of his students, like really young students,
Okay.
which kind of forced me into like preparing for those classes. I don't know that I was a really great teacher, but I had a lot of fun with those kids. And he got me into some other lessons, but mostly just like having him play around the house, having access to everything was really probably the most formative part of it. Yeah.
so I'm assuming me and your dad sound like we're similar people, except I haven't quit the business just yet. You never know. So was sort of half of your playtime just jamming and playing, singing songs together?
Not
Not really?
Not a ton. I mean, we sang a lot on my dad's music. Yeah, he'd definitely poke his head in and give feedback and stuff, but that's the big missing element for me was jamming. I didn't jam with a ton of people. I was a very solitary songwriter in my bedroom kind of thing. But
And are you still that way?
yeah. Yes and no. I mean, I was really self-conscious as a kid about like my playing, even though I was decent, but I never like found my way to the jam circle in high school. Like I'd see a bunch of people playing in a circle and I'd be too nervous to join, but then would like go up on stage and sing.
But didn't you feel, when I felt similarly, and I think a lot of it was because I didn't really know how to solo.
Yeah,
I felt like you had to know how to solo.
Yeah, well, I was also too afraid to like make mistakes, which in retrospect was. I had a young kid come to me and ask some questions for a school project recently, and he asked me like, what would you change about your musical history? Like, if you could change anything from your, education or career in music, what would you do? And that was the first thing. I was like, I would have jammed more with more people and just like taken more risks musically, because I think it would have been painful at first, but like, would have been easier then than it is now, you know? So I think about that jamming thing a lot, and it wasn't a huge part of my life, but I definitely had musical partners in crime that I felt safe with and comfortable with and would write with or noodle with,
Yeah.
But
I'd like to go back to talking about your new record,
Sure.
And what, you're talking about that feeling that you get before you go on tour, and sort of roping that in, because I have images of, going to the park with my partner and our kids, the day before, trying to get a day in
It's the worst
to
feeling.
do something, It's lovely, but there's this very weird
Yeah.
feeling like you're at a funeral or something.
Yeah.
So that's sort of that feeling. I mean, it's interesting that that's the feeling you had, but then you were writing it in isolation at home with your kids and family. But some of the feeling is about leaving.
Yeah, I think more metaphorically,
Yeah.
it's like about death and dying too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know about you, but I've never sensed my mortality more than when I had my kids. I was like, oh, I'm like 35. It's great. And it's not that I fear that that's coming, but it's just all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is. I think it relates to that feeling. It's
Yeah.
like wanting to hold on to everything. So, and I'm only turning 40. Like, I'm making a big deal. This sounds really intense, but just that feeling of like wanting to hold on to everything because it's passing so quickly. Like that, the days are long, the years are so short. That feeling of nostalgia for your childhood, and it's mixed up in your own children's childhood, and you're watching it all happen, and you're
Sure.
feeling like this. It's like this continuum. I'm not quite putting my finger on it because this is really the first time I've spoken it
Yeah.
out loud. But
Well, and the feeling that when you go on the road, or if you're going to miss something, especially when your kids are so young, you miss moments or experience. I mean, I've always had a slight fascination with death. And as after my kids came, it became more relevant, and I could feel it more, where I would just think about, well, what would happen if I died right now?
Well,
or
yeah.
as I go for my bike ride, or if I'm on the road.
right.
Who would take care of who, and how would things? And I, as a very positive and open and calm person, I used to think those weren't like the best thoughts to have. And now I'm fully embracing the dark
Yeah.
and the death and the things, and putting in my music much more, because I don't think it doesn't feel sad or dark. It feels just honest and raw.
Yeah, a little melancholy too, right? I
Yeah.
think that it's true. It's like not to turn away from it, but to like kind of meet it in its face,
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of these songs was. I was writing a lot of lyrics that, I just felt like maybe this is something I wouldn't normally say, but why wouldn't I say this when
Yeah.
I do feel that way, So, there's a lot of layers there, like, and I feel like so much of it's just related to me being a parent of young children. My parents are healthy, and and my in-laws are so present. Like, I feel I'm so lucky to have this like community, and like super loving community, and I sometimes just like hold my breath, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's just like, it's so precious, and I'm just trying to be super present for it, and I'm not always like, I mean, we can't fully always be present. Like, our kids have to watch TV and we need a break, to be ourselves, but it's a dance, I find.
And do you find being a parent, having your kids around, has that affected your songwriting exponentially, or?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I can tap into some stuff that I maybe couldn't before, you know? Yeah. That's like I find myself, like, no offense to my husband, I write a lot of love songs for him, but like, I write a lot of love songs for my kids too. They're different, of course, but yeah, they have allowed me to tap into it also, like a part of myself, like a really strong part of myself, but a super vulnerable part of myself at the same time. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's a really strange mix. And like on the surface you'd be like, oh, those feelings don't go together, but they really do.
And maybe you realize that the everyday life that exists around you, there's always going to be this sort of precious life, this thing that you will have to care for, that's always in the back of your mind, or, you know,
Yeah.
everything that you write about, everything you do outside of your kids involves them in some way, because they
Yeah.
need you to survive.
Yeah.
To survive, you know.
Well, I do too. I need them to survive, right? Like, that's the other side of it now.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like, people are always like, how's the pandemic been? And I was like, it's been rough, but also I've had to show up for my kids every day. And that, in a way, is, I'm like really thankful for them, because they're like these little people who need me. They won't always need me like that.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other thing we can talk about. But yeah, it's such a special time. I'm trying to like really capture it.
What are your plans now with this new record? What are your hopes?
Great question.
What are your hopes with these songs?
It's really, as I said, it's like a gift to myself.
Yes.
In a way. So I'm like really, obviously we'll share the songs with the world, and with my family in particular, and friends, just people who really have been so encouraging along the way. But it's a bit of a weird time to know what we can and cannot do. I mean, Good Lovelies is my life, and I love that project. It's really, it's just been such a focus for me. So that continues on, and I'll find space to bring these songs to life somehow. At this point, it's hard to say where I can go with them, like traditionally, like through touring and stuff with everything that's going on. But I have some plans to do a virtual concert and some music videos.
Amazing.
Yes, and that'll take place over the summer. That's going to come out in September.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So the record is
Close
right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know when this is going to air, so
Sure.
it may be done by the time this airs.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. We're in final stages
Yeah.
of the record.
and how many songs?
11 songs.
Amazing.
One cover. All original. I wrote one of the songs with Peter Katz, but the rest are all original. Like, I just wrote in my bedroom or in my office or somewhere. Like I'm really lucky. I spend the summer at up north. So
Yes.
I spent some time riding in a 1970s trailer this summer, which
That's
was
amazing.
amazing. There's no plumbing. It's pretty intense, but it's a lot of those tunes are making me feel that summer trailer vibe.
Yeah. And did you produce this record as well?
So it's a co-produce with Jim Bryson,
Yes.
my longtime friend
Amazing.
and collaborator. Yeah, I love Jim, and part of it's been really cool because Jim has been mentoring me. So I've been setting up a little bit of a home studio. I mean, I live in Toronto. I have paper thin walls and children, so it's like the quality of the recordings might not be what some people would like, but it's
But you're creating a vibe. You're creating a space. Yeah.
I'm also like just editing my own vocals and editing
Yes.
other stuff and working on that. So that's been like really, really fun.
Yeah.
And Jim's been a huge part of that. So he's been really helping me get set up. And but I've been recording a bunch at his studio in just outside of Ottawa in Stittsville called Fixed Hinge, which is a great space. And I just love being with Jim. He's so fun and hilarious and creative, and
Yeah, he thinks about songs in a very cool way.
he
And
does.
sonically also. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like feel it really at ease with him, and I've been so lucky to work with so many great producers over the years, and also just to get to this point and know what I want and have that conversation with somebody, and it's just straight, you know, like it's like I want to try this and he wants to try this, and it's like open, and it's been really fun.
There's something really
experience.
beautiful about that, being able to be at the point where you can be in control and know exactly what you want. Or at least not even know what you want, but be able to feel free to have the space to explore sounds
Yeah.
and, you know, hone in on a new sound.
Yeah.
And know when you like something and don't like something.
Yeah. Yeah. And stand firm sometimes.
Yes.
And, you know, make each other a little bit mad.
As you have
It's
to.
good.
As you have to. Well, in the end, you can't agree on everything.
No,
right?
you can't. You really
Especially
can't.
when you're co-producing a record, you can't agree on everything.
Yeah. So he's been amazing, and
Has this learning process made you want to think about producing more in the future?
definitely, definitely, whether I would produce other people's work remains to be seen. I think there's a certain amount of pressure I would have on myself for that. That's definitely a door that is cracking open, but I'm not sure if I'm super ready to go right in. But definitely just to be able to do my own stuff, or, you know, to collaborate with other people, for sure. And just like also understanding, we've been having so much fun just thinking about sounds.
Yes.
And sounds that we like, and how we like guitars to sound, and, you know, really chasing sounds, being like, this is, yeah, it's been such a pleasure, and he's really tapped into a lot of sounds that I'm really, really excited about.
That's something I really find interesting. Something I really get excited about is how musicians and people explore sounds sonically. So, like, how do you hear things in your head? You know,
Yeah.
when you're coming up with an idea, or when you're looking for something. I know, for me, when I'm in the studio, if I'm looking for a sound, it generally comes as either a really physical sound, a tangible sound, like a siren or a helicopter or a this, and I want to recreate that in the space, but with instruments or pedals. Or it's a complete feeling, where it's just like, I have a feeling in my belly and it needs to be
Yeah.
this type of, you know, whatever it is. How do we find that?
Yeah.
Do you
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The language around sound I find so interesting, because people have such different ways of describing sounds,
Yeah.
which makes me then wonder if we're actually hearing the same thing, kind of like colors. Like, are we actually seeing the same colors or hearing
Yeah.
the same thing? Yeah, I spend a lot of time thinking about, sometimes referencing other sounds that I like, and just talking through. I tend to like things as they sound naturally in the room. So a lot of my interest in capturing sound is capturing that natural sound
Yes.
that we're getting, and that can be challenging, really challenging sometimes. Like, especially with some like acoustic guitar sounds, where you're like, this is perfect in the room. How do we recreate it? And Jim, I think, innately has a great understanding of mics and miking techniques, and I've had a lot of fun with that in this project. But describing sounds is something I've thought about a lot over the years, especially with Carrie and Sue and I. And, you know, for example, in like the mixing process, describing sounds to each other, what's working, and you know, I'm not like great at saying, oh, there's too much, you know, of 4K or whatever. Like, there's too much in that spectrum, even though I wish I had that. And maybe I'll get there someday. Or like, I'm more like, this is too sharp, or this is feeling like, I love that word, warm, or round, or it feels hollow, or all those sort of things.
Almost like you're a sommelier or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's mine.
Yeah.
There's too much plum in that.
Yeah, I mean, I do think some of it comes from, like, you know, with me, I had no formal training in music. So when I would come in, so when I wrote my songs, a lot of it just came from what felt right and what sounded right. And when I would go into rehearsal with my initial bands, my incarnations of bands over the years, and in the beginning they were mostly, you know, Humbergrads that I picked up along the way, explaining what I heard and felt for them to do generally was like, I hear a shimmer with little like fairies dancing on the cymbals. I want this kind of there's all energy and
Well, the idea of the Humbergrads, be like, okay.
yeah, there was a disconnect that we had to find a balance there. But now I think for a long time I didn't For a long time, I just sort of hid some of that, or I tried to learn more of the lingo. And I think as I've grown and learned more about myself as an artist, I've just accepted the weirdness that is me as an artist, and accepted that I can just go into a studio and say, this is what I hear, let's find it, let's take the time, and then it's usually, I think it's really fucking cool. So whether people do or not, it's a different story, but you know, it's like really trusting the process of finding and exploring the sounds.
And you have the patience to get there.
Yeah, I really like trying. Being in the studio is maybe my favorite thing. I could be there for 16, 17 hours and not get tired of being there. Yeah.
That's it. I like hearing what part of our work people find the most
for me,
satisfying.
It's studio and live shows. Either I need to be connecting directly to finding the sound, or I need to be connecting directly with the humans.
Humans, yeah.
Yeah.
Humans, so nice.
Yeah.
That used to, I mean, I would say the live show for me has always been the payoff, you know. I used to find in my early days of recording, and I think this might have been related to me not having the language to explain what I wanted, or maybe not feeling comfortable enough asking or pushing for it. I used to find the studio almost painful.
Okay.
But I'm not feeling that anymore. It's good. It's a good feeling to have. Also, vocals, it's like shopping for a bathing suit. I don't know. It's like a weird metaphor. It's just painful.
Yeah.
It used to be really painful to me to like sit in a booth and be like, sing a part and just maybe not nail it and just do it over and over again, or then editing vocal takes. But I will say being able to edit your own vocals for me has now been like, I can yell at the computer, but I'm by myself, you know. I'm like, oh, that's bad. At least it's just me hearing it. But yeah, it's
well, that's it, creating a safe environment for yourself.
Yeah.
To feel completely open and safe. And I imagine working with Jim, and I imagine working with Carrie and Sue, that's after all these years, you know, you must be so comfortable with each other.
Oh my gosh, they're my best.
Yeah.
They're so awesome.
That's so beautiful.
I mean, I wouldn't be doing this project also without like their support, like feeling them. It's almost like they're just like, go do this thing, because they've known for so long I've wanted to, you know, release some music that sort of lives sonically outside of what Good Lovelies does. Not that it's going to be a huge departure, but it's pretty folky and pretty like maybe a little more Americana than what we've done in the past. And I just like, I do feel it's pretty special to have people that we have this life together, and here I am trying to do this other thing, and I don't feel, they're just there, you know, they're like, do this thing, this is good for you, this is good for us. And I definitely feel that, and that's, I'm really it could be really hard if it wasn't like that.
Well, of course, then you can do your thing, do it freely.
Freely is the word too. It's not with constraint. For sure.
Have you felt like doing this solo project, have you felt like you needed to keep them separate from it in terms of in the artistic sense of
No, I mean,
being your bandmates?
Not intentionally. I mean, they know, they've heard a bunch of the songs, and
of course I don't mean, you know, in a negative way. I
No,
just
no,
mean
no.
creating a space.
No, in fact, I will often text, and you know, I've been they've been quite present in the process, and just in terms of me, like, am I struggling with this lyric? Here's a lyric. Like
Yeah,
that
working
sort of
things
thing.
out.
Or just, or even getting to that point and being like, I got this, how do you feel? Or not even asking for that, but just sharing with them where I'm at with things. And, you know, Carrie took a bunch of press shots for me, and
Amazing.
Sue's doing my design. Like, so they're part of the project, and they may be singing on a track, not together, but separately, and different tracks. And like my whole the whole feeling around this is because this is like really a heart-filled album. It's so cheesy to say it that way. It's just like anybody who's working on the project, I feel very deeply connected to. So there's some great friends and collaborators, and of course, Carrie and Sue. It's
Yeah.
like a no-brainer, you know.
To change the subject a bit to your work with environmental activism,
yeah.
has that, and now your work with the Music Declares Emergency, have you brought that into your, I know you've brought that onto the road with you, you've brought some of that energy into the way that you tour and the way you put out records. Is that coming into your writing process at all as well? Are you writing any protest type songs or songs about what the work that you're doing?
Yeah, it's funny. I can like write songs about death and dying, and I just can't bring myself to write about the climate emergency because I find it so upsetting.
Sure.
I spend a lot of my emotional capital on like organizing stuff
Yes.
that sometimes a bit burnt out when it comes to songwriting. And I also, I don't know if you feel this way, but I don't like to chase songs just because I feel like I should. And this is a challenge I've had sometimes in the co-writing setting, is like this idea of sitting down to write a song. And it's not that I don't do that on my own, where I like carve out writing time, but I really crave authenticity in my writing. And I'm not saying that the boardroom song is not authentic.
Sure.
I think it can be very authentic. Just for me, I find it really hard to find my way there. And in the same way, like I've sat down a few times to try to chase the protest song, and I'm like, I don't know if right now it's in my spirit. It is in my spirit, and I'm moved
The
by
work
it.
is in your
The
spirit.
work is in my spirit, but when I sit down to write about it, I'm just not finding my way there. And there are people who do it so beautifully.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so inspired by, you know, Moscow Apartment and Tamara Lindemann. Like, there are people doing it, and they're doing it really well. And I might find my way there someday, but
Yeah.
I
But you're putting the work in behind the
well,
scenes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to. It's there's a lot of work to do. Same with you, you know.
Yeah, I feel similar. I mean, there was a period of time when I was trying to write, where I did try to chase the protest song back. There, I was writing song. I've always had a deep love for the ocean, for whales. So there was a period of time where I was trying to write, you know, songs for dolphins and whales, and like do some benefit shows,
Yeah.
like, you know, 12 years ago, 15 years ago. And I think I may have written a song. I don't know. I wish I could bring it out and share it with you, but there was a song about whales somewhere 15 years ago that I may have played once at the Camera House.
to hear that. Oh my gosh.
But I feel the same way. Like chasing a song is not something I'm really interested in. I'll sit down and write, and if I get through a verse and a chorus, but nothing else comes, I'll put it away and come back to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But I can't force it as much as I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I look at people who are songwriters for their living, and I'm so in awe of them. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I am a songwriter for my living, but I do find it, that chasing the song thing is made for certain people, and I'm not sure it's made for me. I'm trying, like I'm doing co-writes, and sometimes it's amazing, and sometimes it doesn't work, but.
Well, either way, it's good practice.
Oh,
and
exactly. Like,
good education to take home with you,
totally.
working with other songwriters.
I did write a song on this record. It's called Blue as the Moon, and I wrote it spontaneously when I found out that Biden won the election in the States. So that might be the most political of the songs on the record, but it's about my feelings about that. So
I mean,
there
feelings
you
can
go.
be political,
It's
you know?
close enough.
Well, I'm really excited for this new record. I can't wait to hear all of the songs. I've gotten a taste of a few, but I can't wait to hear the rest.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see what you do with Music Declares Emergency. And I can't wait to see you in Good Lovelies and sing with you again
Oh my gosh.
in the future.
So nice.
So thanks for coming to my backyard.
Thank you for having me.
This was a real pleasure.
So nice.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks.
Songs on fire.